Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Shack here, and welcome aboard my Y-Wing. I'm flying with one of the small rebel fleets out here in the Outer Rim, trying to hide from the Empire. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, rebel fighter technology, and a new challenge that I have for you guys, the ship designers that are out there that play space engineers. So this ship is my Y-Wing, specifically the BTL S3. Now the Y-Wing has a long history in Star Wars lore. It was used all the way back in the original Republic. Well, the Republic during the Clone Wars era. They were armored and used for close air support, and well, they'd go for subsystems on capital ships and had a variety of mission goals. But she was the standard bomber, normally a two-seater. Now, this version of it is the Rebel Alliance's Mainstay. This is what they were mostly converted into, the S3. The S3 was a two-person fighter craft, heavy fighter, that saw heavy use until the B-Wing was developed, and they still use them even past then. So even past Return of the Jedi, they were using these. Now, the challenge that I have for you guys, I'm gonna talk about it a bit more later on, but the idea is to design a ship that is based on the lore of the ship you're trying to build from Star Wars. That's my challenge to you guys. Now, this Y-Wing, and I'll take you on a tour. Right now, all her systems are online. She's ready to launch, but let's go ahead and take a walk around. She's fully functional. Now, the idea of a Y-Wing, in this version of the Y-Wing, is that her armor has been stripped off because, well, to be honest, they needed a lot of maintenance. They were constantly breaking down, so maintainers in the lore actually removed all of the armor paneling except for around the cockpit. Mostly it was superficial anyways, except for to give it a little bit of, well, less aerodynamic drag when they were in atmosphere. But they got so sick of taking the panels off that they just left them off. So most of the time when you see a Y-Wing, especially in the original movies, they have all their components exposed except for at the head of the engines and at the head of the aircraft itself, right? The canopy is. So what were they armed with? Well, for a while they were armed with ion cannons on the top, one of the few ships that actually could disable other ships. That's why pirates love these so much, and she had a dual blasters in the front. I've put on some miniguns there, so you guys can see that's my, I guess for close air support you could use it, but mostly for intercepting enemy fighters that are coming in. The two-seater, the back seat is our gunner seat and our target acquisition seat, we'll call it, for our bombs. Now, heading back, since we've got the shield mod now, this is what kind of brought this whole concept on. Since we've got shields and hyperdrives, we can now actually build these lore-friendly ships that match what these ships were supposed to do in the lore. So we've got a hyperdrive. Most rebel fighters had hyperdrives and could be used for, well, long-range battles. They could jump themselves into battle and jump out and wouldn't have to have a carrier, though normally they would. Now, what made the Y-Wing so fantastic was its ability to carry heavy proton torpedoes, massive bombs. Now, what I'm using to simulate that is the wake bomb launcher, which you will be seeing a demo of what the Y-Wing can do at the end of this video. So the idea behind these wake bomb launchers, the original mod author has said that you're supposed to mount them so they point backwards like this one is, fly toward the target, say the front end of the Nebulon B that we're sitting in, the hangar in, was our target. We'd fly toward that, at least doing 25 meters a second or more, fire off a wake bomb, pull away from the target, and then that bomb would continue to travel toward whatever we were flying at and impact and do severe damage. These things do quite a bit of damage. That is a large cargo container that is attached to. Now, this I had a little trouble with because, yes, that makes sense. If you look at the Death Star trench run, they were targeting their proton torpedoes at the vent, the access vent. They were going to use to destroy the Death Star, and they were going to shoot them forward. Which, okay, that makes sense. But then when you play something like Rogue Squadron, you did a lot of carpet bombing in that, where you would drop your bombs down. And it's kind of the same deal when you play Battlefront 2. So what I decided to do is, depending on the mission, this is why this is atypical, you're either going to install it for a attack run like a dive bomber facing backwards so you can fly toward the target and attack, or you're going to be supporting ground forces or taking out ground targets, so you're going to want them facing down. So it's mission specific, much like an F-16 would be in real life. You have to set up the aircraft, or the spacecraft in this case, for the mission that you're going to be doing. So that's just options. I wouldn't fly with both of those on because once you fired it, they would fly off in either direction, or you could just shut one of them down. On the back is our R2 unit, which is just a rotor with some lights spinning, but you know, you gotta have it on there. On the bottom here is where we get interesting. We've got a battery. In case you run out of fuel, you'll have enough power to get your ass out of there. You get a little bit of extra oomph from your battery pack. Behind that, though, is a hyperdrive, which is currently shut down. Well, this is one of the rebel fighters. She needs to have a hyperdrive, so there you go. There's our jump drive. Heading back, our maneuvering jets, our engine pods. We're using some fairly fancy engines. Let me turn on my light here so you can see what I've got going on. And she's got an RCS, a reaction control system, mainly used for landing and light maneuvers, where you don't want to be giving off maybe too much of an energy reading so enemy ships can pick you up, or you're just trying to maneuver inside a docking port or a spaceport like this. So you'd run these small thrusters to just do slight maneuvers. Now on the back here, the Y-Wing, one of its claim to fame was that it was heavily shielded for a fighter. Now that doesn't mean much because we're comparing it to fighters, but if you're going to compare it to something like a TIE Interceptor or an X-Wing, these babies had way more shields. So in that case, she's going to need a lot of power. That's the sound you're hearing is actually it kind of sounds like a refinery running. Those are the 3 shield generators on the back. That's what these squares are that are turned green. So we've got 3 of those, giving us 6,000 points of shields, more maneuvering jets, and 4 quad-core reactor systems set up right there in the middle, giving us our Y-Wing and what she's capable of. Now, in the lore, she is, well, kind of a big target. She's well-armed and well-armored just because of the shields. Not really armored. But let's go on inside. She wasn't very maneuverable, and that is true with this case. There's a lot of weight aboard this ship. All right, we're going to get aboard. So one of the things that I've designed I want to have as much functionality in this design as possible. So that turret does work, can be controlled by the gunner's seat. When you're going to board, I wanted an opening canopy. Now, canopies in Space Engineers are really hard to do, so I found a trick to do this. We're just going to go ahead and push this button here. It's a fairly simple idea, but we're just using... Oh, I'm closing them. I already had it open. But we've got blast door blocks to be our canopies. Let me hit it again. The ship I'm aboard is moving, so it's a little wonky right now, but let's just go ahead, open that up. If this ship wasn't moving, gotta stay on the move, the Empire's out there. I'm gonna jump over here, turn off my jetpack, and jump on inside. Now, normally if we weren't moving, we'd be able to walk around a little bit easier, but you can't get into the gunner's seat back here, and I'll show you the gunner's seat first. Gunner's seat with our systems, all operational. And I can, of course, hit this, turn on my, I have access denied currently, but I could take control of the gun and use it, and then, shut my canopy so nobody can jump in and shoot me or I don't take a round. Let's go ahead and jump in the pilot seat. And here's the pilot seat. Now, all systems are online right now, but it's not bad. It's roomy. You got a decent amount of view. Actually, it looks kind of like the Y-Wing cockpit. I love this cockpit. It took me a while to get this just right. So I'm going to show you some of the other system functions that she's got. One, say you just finished your mission, you've landed back on the Nebulon B, you're about to go to hyperspace, you need to shut down all her systems because those shield generators eat power and fuel like no other. So we're going to shut down all systems. I hit my computer console to shut down all systems. I get an audio bit that says objective complete, and everything is shut down. Now I'm ready to get out, go have a cup of coffee, and, well, do my mission debriefing. Let's say I want to start her back up, right? We've got a mission. We're going to go take out a Star Destroyer that's out there. Gold Squadron's got to be launched. Well, we're going to hit one button to bring on some of our reactors. That way we can power on the rest of the systems. Keep in mind, we've got a lot of systems on here. Wake bomb launchers, shield generators, battery, and online. There you go. Sensors online. So I got an audio clip. Online. All systems. And you can actually hear everything turning on. The shield generators, the reactors, all the power bits. Everything is now online. Switch to third person. Did I close my bay door? No, I didn't. So we're going to go ahead and close up the canopy, and we're going to get ready to launch. Inertial dampeners are off, just to make sure, because the ship is in motion. We're going to do a launch while the fleet is currently moving. And now we're going to detach our landing gear with 7 landing gears detached, beginning to lift off. Let's go ahead and fire those top thrusters, bring in our landing gear inside the bay, and we are ready to go. Let's roll. We've got a mission, people. And yeah, she flies like a Y-Wing. She's not going to be flying around like an X-Wing or a TIE fighter. She's big, she's bulky, she's kind of a big target, but that fits with the lore. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about. This is the challenge that I have for you builders that love science fiction. We're going to move for a few sci-fis in this, but the first one I want to do is Star Wars. So that's my example. I'd love to see what you guys can build. So here are the core concepts. I'm going to spotlight builds that you guys make, but they have to be based on these concepts. All right, you have to take a ship from the Star Wars universe and design it in Space Engineers while holding on to these main goals. It has to look like the ship you're designing it. All right, now if it is a fighter, it needs to be at the scale that the fighters are. Now, if you go into cruisers or anything larger than a fighter, we want to be focused on, is it operational in Space Engineers? Does it actually work? If you build a Star Destroyer that is life-size, actual to the size of the ship it's supposed to be in the lore, that is not workable in Space Engineers engine, sadly. You won't be able to do anything with it. So keep that in mind. Functionality is number one. Also, does it operate based on the lore of the ship? This Y-Wing is slow, it's bulky, but it's well armored, and it can drop bombs. And it can do so based on the lore, and it's got weapon systems like the lore. And that's what we're going for, and that's the challenge. Can you make a ship that looks like the ship you're trying to design from Star Wars? Does it operate like the lore suggests? So if it's an A-Wing, is it fast and maneuverable? Maybe some light shields? And does it have the proper weapon setups? And then functionality. Does it actually work? And does it fit its intended purpose for the ship? Those are your challenges. Now, there is a email address. I'll put it in the description below. Go ahead and email me a link to your workshop build once you've built it, and keep an eye out on the channel for spotlights of these upcoming builds. I can't wait to see the Star Wars fleet get flushed out. We've got shield technology now. We've got tons of mods. We can make all kinds of things. There are no limit to the mods that you use as long as they're not crazy OP. Remember, we want to try to keep things, keep them balanced, right? A Y-Wing has 6,000 shields. If you want to build a Y-Wing, if you can do a better job than me, please feel free to do so. I'd love to see it. All right, guys. Gold Squadron has a mission, and I've got to go meet up with them.